It is 1954. The air inside the basement laboratory is thick, not just with the humidity of a midsummer storm, but with the heavy, metallic tang of ozone and scorched copper. You are standing in a forest of vacuum tubes. They glow with a sickly, pulsating orange light, casting long, skeletal shadows against the damp stone walls. Every few seconds, a spark leaps across a pair of electrodes, illuminating a chaotic desk covered in blueprints that are yellowed and curling at the edges. The temperature is oppressive. Sweat trickles down your neck, making your starched collar feel like a serrated blade. You reach out to touch the main console. The steel is vibrating, a low-frequency shudder that you feel in your teeth more than your fingertips. It smells of hot oil, old dust, and the desperate electric scent of a breakthrough that shouldn't be possible. You look at the dial. The needle is buried in the red. You hear a sound, a high-pitched whine that begins to drown out the rain. It sounds like 1,000 glass flutes shattering at once. This is it. This is the machine that was supposed to make electricity free for every human being on Earth. No wires, no bills, just pulling energy from the very air around us. Your hand trembles as you reach for the final lever. The handle is worn with leather, slippery with your own perspiration. You pull. The machine didn't explode. It didn't break. It simply stopped. Not because the science failed, but because a man in a black suit was standing in the doorway, holding a pair of heavy industrial shears and a court order. The future was canceled before the sun came up. History is written by the winners, but it is haunted by the losers. We live in a world built on fossil fuels and fiber optics, but beneath the surface of our reality lies a graveyard of impossible technologies that actually worked until they were buried. That scene. It's haunting, isn't it? The idea that we might be living in the wrong timeline because a few powerful people decided the status quo was more profitable than a revolution.
It's more than haunting, Josh. It's infuriating. We like to think of progress as a straight line, but it's more like a hedge maze where someone keeps locking the gates to the exits.
Welcome to Radio English. I'm Josh. Today, we're operating at a B2 to C1 level, so expect some nuanced discourse and perhaps a bit of linguistic gymnastics as we explore the technology that could have changed the world, but didn't.
And I'm Carla. We're glad to have you with us for this deep dive into the what-ifs of human history.
But before we peel back the curtain, Carla, I have to mention the Enigma blueprint. I've spent the last 3 months tracking down a specific set of coordinates for a facility in the Nevada desert that officially doesn't exist. At the very end of part 2, I'm going to reveal the exact location of the vault where the prototypes we discussed today are allegedly kept. It's a bit of a Master Luke, if you will. Stick around because the reality is stranger than the fiction.
You're quite the provocateur today, Josh. But honestly, I can barely focus on the secret vault when the atmosphere in here is so evocative.
Evocative, that's a sophisticated choice of words. It does have a certain mood, doesn't it? I'm currently tracing the green of this mahogany table with my thumb. It's cool to the touch, polished to such a high sheen that I can see the reflection of the microphone arm hovering over it, like a silver crane.
And the aroma. I've opted for an Earl Grey today, bergamot and a hint of smoked lavender. The steam is rising in these delicate, translucent ribbons, swirling into the cold air coming from the AC vent. It's a fascinating juxtaposition, the warmth of the tea against the clinical chill of the studio.
I noticed that chill too. I'm wearing my heavy wool cardigan, the one that smells faintly of cedarwood and old paper. The texture is a bit abrasive against my wrists, but it keeps the animal brain at bay while the human brain does the heavy lifting. I can hear the subtle creak of your chair every time you lean in, Carla. It's like the studio itself is breathing with us.
It's the weight of the research, Josh. These folders, I'm looking at these printouts right now. The paper is that heavy stock, slightly textured, almost like vellum. It makes a very specific, satisfying thwack when I lay it on the table.
It sounds authoritative. You know, I've always found that our physical environment dictates the quality of our thought. If we were in a bright, white, minimalist room, we'd be talking about Silicon Valley apps. But in here, with the dim amber lights and the velvet curtains absorbing the sound, we're talking about ghosts. We're talking about the lost future.
Precisely. It's about the aesthetic of the obsolete. There's a certain melancholy in things that were meant to be the future, but became retro before they even launched. Let that sink in for a moment. We're surrounded by the ghosts of ideas that were silenced.
I love that phrase, melancholy. It's like a heavy blanket, isn't it? It's comfortable, but a bit suffocating. I remember being a kid and finding an old science magazine from the 70s in my uncle's attic. The smell was incredible. Damp, sweet, like vanilla and rot. On the cover was a flying commuter car. It looked so certain, so inevitable.
And here we are, Josh, sitting in traffic in 2026.
Exactly. I spent an hour staring at that magazine, convinced that by the time I was 30, I'd be dogging my car on the roof of my office. The analogy I'd use is that of a stalled engine. We have all the parts for the future, the fuel, the spark, the wheels, but someone has their foot firmly on the brake.
Or perhaps they've removed the spark plugs entirely because they sell the fuel.
A cynical but perhaps rational perspective. Let's debate that for a second. Is it truly a conspiracy of men in black suits, or is it simply that society is a very heavy, very slow-moving ship that refuses to turn even when a better port is visible?
I think it's a bit of both. It's the sunk cost fallacy on a global scale. We've spent trillions on the current infrastructure. To switch to something like wireless power would mean admitting that the last century of copper wiring was a colossal waste of resources.
A colossal waste. I love the weight of those words. It's like a lead weight in the pit of my stomach. Let's look at a concrete historical example of a stalled future. Everyone knows Thomas Edison, but fewer people focus on the fact that his commitment to direct current nearly strangled the electrical revolution in its crib.
Oh, the Edison versus Tesla rivalry. It's the ultimate beta versus VHS of the Victorian era. Edison was so invested in his direct current patents that he engaged in what we would now call a smear campaign, publicly electrocuting animals to prove that Tesla's alternating current was dangerous.
It's visceral, isn't it? The sheer ruthlessness. Think about that for a second. Edison wasn't trying to find the best technology, he was trying to protect his moat.
I have a personal anecdote that relates to this, a family legend. My great-grandfather supposedly worked for a power company in New York in the late 1800s. The story goes he saw a prototype for a battery that could last 10 times longer than anything Edison was producing. He said the blueprints were bought by a holding company and literally vanished into a vault.
Vanished. That sounds like a plot from a noir film, but it's a perfect analogy for the Gilded Cage. We give inventors the gold, but only if they stay in the cage and don't break the existing market.
Exactly. Edison's direct current was a short-range solution. It required a power plant every mile. It was inefficient, but it was controllable. Alternating current was free-range. It could travel hundreds of miles.
It's like the difference between a home garden hose and a thunderstorm. Edison wanted to sell you the hose and charge you for every drop. Tesla wanted to give you the storm.
But the hose won the first round. We spent decades using inferior direct current systems in cities because the infrastructure giant was too big to move.
Think about the opportunity cost there. How many decades did we lose? How much pollution did we create because we chose the safe profit over the risky leap?
It makes me think of the cargo cult mentality. We keep building the same things because we saw them work once and were too terrified to try a different design.
It's a stagnation of the imagination. We're essentially iterating on 19th century concepts while pretending it's innovation. We put a touchscreen on a toaster and call it the future.
Josh, slow down. You're getting that revolutionary glow in your eyes again.
You're right. I need to ground myself. I'm touching the cold metal of the microphone stand now. It's solid. It's real. Unlike the flying cars in my uncle's attic.
We have a lot more to cover. We haven't even touched on the water-powered car or the digital library of Alexandria that was deleted in the 90s.
Indeed. And don't forget the Nevada coordinates. Part 2 is where the rabbit hole really begins. Welcome back. The door is locked, the Earl Grey is still warm, and the atmosphere is ripe for a deep dive. Carla,
We were talking about the stalled future, but I want to look at the mechanics of suppression. It is rarely about men in black suits. It is about the innovation horizon.
The horizon. I assume you are referring to the limit of what a society is willing to accept, regardless of the technology's utility.
Precisely. Bear with me here because this is an elaborate analogy. Imagine that human progress is a massive, multi-generational ship. Let us call it the SS status quo. This ship is powered by a very specific, very expensive type of coal. Thousands of people have jobs shoveling this coal. Entire cities are built around the ports where this coal is delivered. Now, imagine a lone inventor standing on the deck. He has a small, humming box that can power the entire ship using nothing but the salt water beneath the hull. In a rational world, the captain would take the box and celebrate. But in our world, the people selling the coal realize their entire empire will vanish overnight. The sailors realize their specialized skills will become obsolete. Even the passengers are terrified because they have never seen a ship move without smoke. The ship's immune system kicks in. It does not just ignore the invention, it attacks it. They don't have to prove the water box is fake, they just have to make it inconvenient. They pass laws saying salt water belongs to the state. They tell the newspapers the box causes seasickness. Eventually, the box is tossed overboard and the ship keeps burning coal, even as the smoke chokes the passengers.
So, suppression isn't always a conspiracy. Sometimes it's just systemic friction. The ship is too heavy to pivot, and the stakeholders are too invested in the old fuel.
Exactly. It's a gilded stagnation. We surround ourselves with sleek gadgets, smartphones that can track our pulse, but we are still using 19th century internal combustion to get to work. We are polished on the outside, but the engine is a fossil. We have optimized the coal shovel, but we have buried the saltwater box. Let that sink in. We are living in a world of refined antiques.
Josh, you are getting too deep into the melancholy again. I can feel the systemic friction in my joints. It is time for the listening challenge. Let us see if our C1 learners can identify the logical fallacies that keep the ship burning coal. It's the status quo challenge.
I am ready. My logic is sharpened. Bring it on.
Scenario 1. A new drug cures a disease perfectly, but it's never released because the company makes billions selling a management drug for the same illness. What do we call this?
That is the perverse incentive. When the profit lies in the problem, there is no motivation to provide the solution. It's the ultimate anchor on the ship of progress.
Correct. Scenario 2. A revolutionary technology is rejected because we've always done it this way and it would be too expensive to change all our factories.
Classic path dependency. We are prisoners of our past investments. We would rather keep a bad system we paid for than buy a good one we haven't tested.
Last one. An inventor claims he has a water car, and the media immediately calls him a fraud without looking at the engine because physics says it's impossible.
Scientific dogmatism. When our current understanding of the rules prevents us from seeing the exceptions. It's the immune system of the academy.
Since we're operating at a high level today, let's dissect some of the power words we've been using. Let's start with obsolete. Josh, obsolete is simply a synonym for old.
I disagree. Old is a vintage car that still runs. Obsolete is a technology that has no place in the current system, like a floppy disk or a typewriter. It has been erased by the present.
Fair point. Word 2, disruptive. Nowadays, every startup uses this, but what does it actually mean?
True disruptive technology doesn't just improve the market, it destroys the old market to build a new one. Netflix did not improve Blockbuster, it made the very idea of a video store obsolete.
Word 3, subterfuge.
Ah, a lovely C1 word. It refers to deceit used to achieve a goal.
The oil companies used subterfuge to discredit the electric tram systems in the 1920s. It's a subtle, clever kind of lie.
Word 4, ubiquitous.
It means everywhere at once, like the internet or plastic. It's the opposite of a suppressed technology. Once something is ubiquitous, you can't put the ghost back in the machine.
And word 5, ambiguity.
The state of having more than one interpretation. History is full of ambiguity. Did the water car inventor disappear because of a conspiracy or because he was a con man? We may never know.
The moment of truth, Josh. You mentioned the Enigma blueprint in the vault in the Nevada desert. The coordinates?
I have them right here. According to the documents I acquired, the prototypes for Wardencleave's final transmitter and the 1970s high-efficiency fuel cell are stored at 37.2431 degrees north, 115.7930 degrees west.
Josh, those are the coordinates for Area 51.
Precisely, the ultimate Gilded Cage. The most famous secret in the world is not about aliens, Carla. It's about us. It's about the technology we already invented but aren't allowed to use yet. The vault is not to keep things in, it's to keep the future out.
Whether you believe in the vault or just the systemic friction, one thing is clear. The future is a choice, not a destination.
Indeed. And for those of you who want to explore more about the human side of this story, you must watch our episode on the identity mirror, talking about yourself with confidence. After all, if you're going to change the world, you need to know who you are first.
Question for the comments. If you could unlock one suppressed technology from history today, which would it be? Free energy? The flying car? Or is something else? Be specific. We love a good C1 level debate.
Like and subscribe to Radio English. Stay curious, stay resilient, and don't let your ideas become obsolete.
I'm Carla.
And I'm Josh.
See you in the next timeline.
Bye-bye.